All right, so this is our fourth negotiated session with the Browning Public Schools and Browning Federation of Teachers. And we can go ahead and start.
Before we start, I don't know.
I was gonna say, I'll introduce myself if you like. So my name is Andy Seaver, and actually a lifetime ago, I represented the Browning Federation of Teachers when I worked for the Montana Federation of Teachers. That really was a lifetime ago. And then Jerry Raccavina took over for me when I left and joined the dark side. I went to work for the School Board Association. So I worked there since 2000. So I work with Shelley mostly in Great Falls, but we've worked in Cut Bank and a couple other places besides. So yeah, so I hope I'm looking forward to working with you guys. So yeah,
So Andy,
pleasure to meet you.
I'm Dana. I am our union president, our
Okay.
teacher union, Browning Federation of Teachers
Okay.
union president.
Yeah.
Profile BFT.
Yep. The FP, I remember it well. So yeah.
So my aunt worked with Jerry all those years.
Oh,
Mary
really?
Jo.
Okay. Small. I
Mhm.
recognize Mary Jo's name. Okay.
That's
Okay.
probably why you recognize me.
That's probably exactly what
I get that. You guys all look alike.
Right.
And I'm like, what?
Right.
Get insulted. No, I'm just kidding. Hell with this. I was insulted.
I
Be
just-
careful.
Yeah, yeah. We can edit that part out.
None of my family members watch this, please.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So my name is Dana.
Pleasure to meet you, Dana.
It's me, Chandy.
My name's John Parenti.
Pleasure to meet you, John.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm Violet Sinclair Boggs.
Very nice to
I
meet you, Violet.
Take the notes.
All right.
And over
That's our
there.
union secretary.
And so this is Cicely. She'll be taking your notes today.
So,
So, all right. I'm ready to start.
do you know everybody else?
Yes, I've met a couple times with the management team and that sort of thing, so. And now the reality is that if you ask me to match everybody's game, I'll fail it miserably, so. So.
All right. Where did we leave off?
So, we were reviewing your proposals last
Okay.
time. Is where, yeah. So we had 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3, 6, and
We don't
7.
have 4 and 5. We have 6, 7. And 8.
1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I meet with you guys really quick? You ready for the meeting from first? Un momento, por favor. And Shelley too. Please.
See you soon.
Where have you guys been going when you meet?
My office.
Okay, good, perfect.
Right?
Okay.
If you guys want, there's a
Band.
bag of sandwiches.
Thank you, Dave.
district will need to be calculated and the average for the high school will need to be calculated. And in order, since they have one collective bargaining agreement, they'll be the greater of the two.
I think of those as two separate budgets. I don't think of them
Yes.
as two separate districts.
And that's okay. And that's, yeah.
So
Tomato,
when I read
tomato,
the law,
potato,
okay.
potato. Yeah, it's
Which is it?
Call the whole thing.
Okay.
call the whole thing off. Good luck with that is all I can say.
Nobody gets paid?
It's a song, you guys, relax. Oh my God.
Know your music.
Old movies,
Old
old
musicals.
musicals. Oh my God.
Big.
Music is not my thing. I'm
Give me a
afraid.
ticket
Yeah.
for that movie. please.
No, if it has anything to do with the movie.
There we go.
Things are funny. Okay.
Right.
And we're back.
And we're back. How'd you do?
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, questions, any other proposals?
So,
Did
I-
you give new proposals?
Not yet.
so I had asked for a digital copy
Yes,
because I do want to put our BPS language into this one, or at least give you a draft of
Okay.
what.
I'm
we
working on
would
that.
like it to
We
be.
just had a death and been going crazy right now.
So
Come
that
back.
one, we did agree on number 2. We talked about the time clock and we would like to keep it. We explained last time, due to workman's comp and emergency issues, it is critical for us.
So leave. You're leaving,
We're gonna say no on proposal 3. And so proposal 6, we talked about that. Yes, I do have a counter offer on that one. Do you want to hear it?
sure,
Okay. So I had calculated, I said last time there's 37 extended Wednesdays across the course of the year. Or excuse me, for 4-day weeks, with or less holiday weeks, I guess. They're not all 4-day, but, so 37 extended Wednesdays. There are, 6 of those days that would be, applicable here. I'm willing to do this if we can negotiate on that shared collaborative prep time.
during those weeks only.
No, through the course of the year.
So you wanted me to give up 36 45-minute preps for 6 days?
It's not giving up. It's, our kids really benefit from that collaborative time.
And
And
the collaboration is happening.
And I recognize that we had one building that was challenging on that. One more so than the other. But we can correct that next year. Decisions have been made to correct some of that. And that is pretty critical time for our teachers. Our buildings are holding MTSS meetings where they are doing collaborative planning for interventions. Our middle school and high school are having department meetings where they're planning for ELA and math and all of the above within those departments.
So departments get one Wednesday a month collaboration. Plus they're still meeting 1 week in buildings one time, once a week, sometimes more, depends on the building. And they're meeting after school once a week, but you want one more?
I'm asking for the one we had back in the
You want it in
contract
contract?
from last year. The one we removed, I'm asking for that back. We have a large number of teachers who feel at a loss that was a big part of the work they do with their team. And again, I
All the teachers
recognize,
who vote and who showed up at our meeting are still pro keeping it.
I recognize that, but how many is that in the voting group?
So we had, I remember the survey that we sent out.
And what building do they come from? I mean, in like,
It
are
was
they
certified.
elementary? No, our elementary or high school? High school, they get out at 3:45. So you're saying that they have after-school department meetings for
No.
15 minutes?
No.
No.
You said that they have one weekly.
Everybody who voted, certified staff union members who voted, they're the ones who decided. I didn't split it up by buildings per se.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, but the way you, but when you explained, you said they get a department meeting once every, what did you say?
Once a month.
Once a month with the whole district, then they get one per building with extended day, correct?
That was the same thing. That's the same thing. Once a month,
Okay,
extended day.
once a month.
That's
but
an
then-
hour,
And you said,
actually hour and a half
and you said another time at the high school, I'm saying an hour.
during their PD
During
time
their-
or their prep time. So I
They're
never
doing-
said they don't have to, they don't meet. Let's put it that way. I said they could meet.
And
So
we tried,
the reason why we got rid of the language is because, let's explain to Andy.
I understand it.
Last year in our language, it said we had a collaborative meeting in one of the preps, one of 45-minute preps. And it was, the buildings decided. Well, a couple of buildings that I've heard of, BES, Knoppy Middle School, and I've gone to Knoppy, I've been at BES. I know this year now I'm down at KW Vina, so I've experienced 4 buildings now. But being the union rep and going to multiple buildings,
Sure.
I'm hearing a lot of stuff from teachers. Those were not collaborations. Those were administrative driven. Admins would come in, they had an agenda. Here's what we need to cover during this meeting. So it was never contractual. It was not collaborative,
Okay.
which is what she's fighting for. And I get that. I want the collaboration. So we got rid of the language
Okay.
and we opened it up for a collaboration with the departments if they want to, but it's a teacher choice.
but one of the things I think we need to talk about is, an MTSS meeting, which is a lot of what's happening on those days, is a collaborative planning meeting. They are making decisions about intervention,
Right.
putting students in intervention groups. And many of those MTSS teams in each building are facilitated by our building administrators because they are instructional leads in their building in addition to instructional coaches.
Right.
And so it may appear like they have an agenda because those meetings do, because you only have a certain amount of time and you have to get all the way through the planning process
Right.
so that you can start interventions the next day. But
MTSS takes a long time though.
it does.
So BES would do a half a day with second grade teachers and they would have subs in the classroom or specialists. They changed their entire daily schedule to cover the
Yeah.
MTSS. Same thing, and then the flip in the afternoon would be third, because I would be a part of both.
And Kate, our Bolshoi used to do theirs like that as well,
Mhm.
but they have broken theirs up into smaller chunks now, because of.
And
the
KW
sub-
Vina does theirs during Wednesday PD time.
Right.
So they do a
Yeah.
big chunk there, because
And they have,
MTSS is not just a quick little collaboration.
no, it's not.
Right.
It's definitely not.
That's
But
not,
sometimes it's enough time to pull like the specialists who are acting as interventionists across our elementary buildings,
Mhm.
just to get that group together. Not the whole big decision-making process, but to just get them together so that they can have collaborative planning about intervention. Because there's multiple groups to really fully
would you
implement.
be, let me counter. You guys want to discuss, or can I counter?
I'd like to hear it first.
Okay. Let's go chat.
Sorry.
That's okay. Oh, yours.
Yes, that's me.
Let me give you guys these while you're
Well, thank you.
you're welcome.
There,
This is you have.
is this,
This is set.
Let me just, I'm gonna send the language.
I think she still needs to.
The 24 to 25 would be,
Give one this.
no, it would be the 23,
I'm
20.
not sure.
Yes.
I think Jen still needs one.
Oh,
That's my
I
second.
knew I did an extra one just in case.
You know, it's crazy. I got the 2011 to 2014. I don't know why I have that.
Counter for you.
Which one? Okay,
Number 6.
okay,
Proposal
let's
6.
hear what you got.
All right. You're willing to give us 6 days, those Wednesdays. We're willing to give you 7 preps, and you can choose when. Typically, we wouldn't meet in December, or probably even May, right? 9 months.
Well, like, so probably not in December for those MTSS meetings, but definitely in May. Because we're wrapping up and end of year benchmark data.
So that's our proposal, is 7 preps for the 6 days.
So can I just ask, because when I heard the dialogue going back and forth, so it sounds like it was removed from the contract because it wasn't a collaborative meeting, it was a directed meeting. Is that a fair
Correct.
say?
The language wasn't being followed
Okay,
in the contract.
and if it was being followed, would it be acceptable?
Yeah, I've got those.
Okay, it's a hypo, so.
Here's the thing, Jerry, and
Okay.
here's why we asked for it to be removed.
Okay.
Because we feel like it's a management issue to handle that stuff in their building. It shouldn't be a teacher contract issue. Have the collaborative meeting. Tell teachers they have to come to this meeting. I mean, and your management, that's your job. You control your school, you plan it, you make sure teachers are there. But what was happening is it was happening during our teacher prep time.
Yeah.
Where especially in the elementary, pre-K through 6, you are handling a bunch of stuff, multiple subjects each week. And I know they probably need it at high school, but we're trying to push this back onto management to control their buildings and not the contract.
I get that, but part of it is, so management clearly, and I'm speaking, I haven't talked to the team, so in most cases, management is directive. And we're used to being directive.
Right.
But management isn't living it in the trenches. And so the point of the collaborative side of things is what's working, what isn't, how do we modify the meeting so that it allows for success in the end? And so that's what I'm just, if it is, it just sounded like to me during the back and forth that the collaborative was the missing component. And it almost looks like in terms of the management committee and that sort of thing, the collaborative may be an area of problem beyond this piece. How do we fix that? So that's why I was wondering.
So
if you go back to the original.
the balance was not to give up 37, is it 37 weeks we're in school?
Yes.
To give up 37 preps versus 6 hours, there is
I hear you on
a
that.
misbalance. there. So that's why
that I
we
get.
countered with, okay,
Sure.
we only have 45-minute preps. So instead of 6 preps, we'll give you 7 to balance out those 6 hours.
And I don't disagree. I hear what you're saying. I'm just wondering
And if those are directives, collaborative efforts, that's fine. We're okay with that. But to enforce, here's another thing.
Okay.
For 2 years, I was the music teacher in the 2nd and 3rd grade.
Oh my God. Jay.
It was fun. I had a blast, but it's not my career path.
Okay.
So I was forced every week to give up a prep and
Okay.
sit in meetings that didn't pertain to me.
All right.
They covered math.
Okay.
The second, whatever prep I had with, they covered ELA, they covered all this stuff
Okay.
that I had to sit through and it
Okay.
didn't pertain to me
Okay.
because the contract made me.
Right.
So that's where I have to push back and say it's not fair to all of our staff. I don't want John to sit in on a meeting that it doesn't pertain to him. It's a waste of our 45 minutes. So that's where it becomes a management thing. Figure out when those departments can meet, have a meet, schedule it.
I hear you. I just, I know that somebody who despises meetings myself.
Right.
I think we probably all do. Great Falls doesn't. They have meetings for meeting's sake. But certainly there are meetings that I don't have any business about going to. And then there are those in which I discover halfway through the meeting that maybe I do have a role. But part of that is the collaborative approach and having an understanding of the bigger picture rather than just the classroom picture, but also striking a balance. You're taking me away from my time that I need.
Right.
So I'm just trying to figure out how to strike that balance. So.
And it's hard when you're covering pre-K through 12 and academy
Right.
and BAB and.
Yeah, everybody's got
Colonies.
their own culture and everybody's doing their own
So
thing.
that's what I'm saying. It's a management thing. Each building should handle that schedule, building that schedule.
Right, and there's nothing that says a building can't ask staff to meet during that time. It's just that it can't be a mandatory.
And that's what's happened this year, and staff choose not to come. Except for like Bolshu, because they have a very consistent plan for that, and it has been a collaborative. So Bolshu meets, the high school has had a few groups meet, but some have not engaged. And so some come, and then some that are part of that group choose not to come. Then it does impact like implementation of instruction. When you have a group of ELA teachers and two of them know what's happening or develop plans for implementation and one of them
That's
doesn't.
where maybe those teachers need to be talked to by management, because if they're not actively seeking out that information, that's part of their job, isn't it?
It is, but they just flat out say no, even when management does talk to
So they
them.
telling that, then they need to be disciplined.
Well, and I wonder if it could be more of an ongoing effort. See, the thing that I keep, and I mentioned this last time we talked about this, the way it is right now with it not being mandatory, that incentivizes admin to create a culture and an environment within the building where staff want to collaborate. And so if that effort is ongoing, that the team building, the whatever, like in the building is an ongoing thing, the more that happens, the more people are going to be willing to show up to those not mandatory meetings. If it just becomes mandatory, then that
It's that
team feel is not the same anymore. It's more us against them. It doesn't feel the same.
So I don't disagree with that, but I do think that that statement where admin need to create the climate and that teachers choose to participate in, creating school culture and climate is a two-way street. It is not just about admin creating it. Teachers have to be willing to engage in it too. And so what we have going on right now is a large group of teachers are choosing not to engage in it, period. So they're not coming to extended Wednesdays. We don't have the collaborative planning meeting time. And so they're just not engaging. And so that is a difficult,
Absolutely.
it's difficult to create that climate and culture when they just choose not to engage.
So maybe you can clarify for me, because your schedule is your weekly schedule that I don't see anywhere else. So on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, the duty day is 8 to 4. How long are students present?
They're here from 8. I mean, class doesn't start at 8 in every building, but their students are typically present in the building from 8 till, our elementary buildings, it's 3:20, middle school, 3:35, high school, 3:45.
Busing.
Yeah, because of
rules
busing.
that.
Mhm.
Okay, on Wednesdays, the duty day is 8 to 5. Do the buses still run at those same times?
Yes,
Which
yes.
leaves that pocket of time available for
Yes.
meetings. I think,
Yes.
and that's one of the different.
And
It's
I-
called Wednesday PD, but I don't want to put Wednesday PD in the contract, because if that changes.
I don't want you to put PD in anything that
Right.
isn't,
So what is
you
PD?
call it something
Professional
else.
development.
Okay.
And for each building, that's a little different. High school is only an hour. Or,
Everywhere it's an hour,
yeah,
because from 3:30 to 4, elementary, I know pre-K through 3rd, and I'm pretty sure NAPI has the same thing. 3:30 to 4 is called collaborative meetings, so they meet every Wednesday during that time as well. It's just 30 minutes instead of 45.
So what's the reluctance on the PD not adding it to the just curious in terms of not adding it to the contract?
The reason,
So it's already happening naturally, is my point.
Okay,
and I'm just saying for my sanity, when we have 7 PIR days, 3, which will be professional development, and you call this professional development.
I get you got a duplicative term and topic and we've got some.
I think this is called extended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Extended day.
Extended
day.
But it's PD.
Saying-
Okay.
It is. We're the most PD district, I believe, in the state.
But that's one of the things why
Okay.
some staff like to come here as brand new staff. They have so much support as a brand new staff member.
Okay,
Just when we're at year 10.
okay, got it. I understand what you're saying. Okay,
Yeah, and I do recognize what you're saying, because I've heard it from many staff members. They want some options in terms of what does happen on extended day. If it doesn't pertain to them, they want to just engage in what does. And that might be work in their classroom. That might be meeting with other team
It
members.
might be Infinite Campus, it might be
Yeah.
Gradebook, it might be Google Classroom training, and I know different leaders and instructional coaches are trying to do some of that and trying to be more flexible with that. We've tried that at the high school multiple times to do that. It gets harder when creative plans have to be collaborative plans, implementation plans need to be rolled out so that those can happen.
So let me ask you this, because I'm not understanding the
Okay.
high school culture. When you have multiple grade levels, how are they supposed to be on the same page as far as like ELA goes, for example?
So
Curriculum alignment,
curriculum alignment at the beginning of the
they
year,
all use the same curriculum, whether it's
and then we
different grade
have,
levels.
we have department meetings where we meet with the middle school and the high school on those monthly meetings. And then what we used to do so like one meeting, we would talk about just logistics, and then one meeting they would meet with their grade levels.
And when did
Um,
that happen?
Huh?
During Wednesday
On
PD?
Thursday, or no, Wednesday is sometimes building directed. Or was, I don't know what they're doing now, so again. So out there is a little different because you want freshman level. I know Glenn always wanted to just be able to meet with just the freshman teachers.
Mhm.
Some just wanted to meet just with ELA. And so, trying to figure out how testing was gonna be done. We also, how did we used to run that, John, where, prep times. Prep time was put, all ELA was all, prep time was all at the same time for ELA.
Yeah.
All the same time for PE.
Yeah,
all
so
same
the
time for
master
math.
schedule is created to
That
give
way.
that opportunity for collaborative planning.
And so that on days when we didn't have those Thursdays, like Thursday was optional, you could come together to meet together, and then one was directed. And then on any other day, you could collaborate as needed.
So.
Yeah.
It sounds to me like it wasn't actual collaboration. It was
Some of that was.
what our old language said, though. It was teacher collaboration. It was not administrative stuff. So that's where,
so that's where I think that's where the rub. is.
Right.
We need to figure out how to fix that, so it is
Yeah.
teacher
so that's
collaboration.
right.
Had we talked about that a little bit more, we could have made that more collaborative.
It should have been, because that's what the language said. And that's why there was pushback, because all of the teachers through elementary
But as
and
they-
middle school kept saying, wait, we're supposed to be meeting on our department stuff. And it wasn't happening.
The information, we were just told this is what we were supposed to do. And when I was under three superintendents, these were the things that we were going over: data, how to use our data, how to prep and plan for the data, work with the coaches.
So aren't people involved in the extended day when this could be happening in collaborative? I mean, that's a whole hour.
Yes, at the elementary, no, at the high school. At the high school's way different.
But why not?
I couldn't figure out how to do some of that. Sandy may be running it differently. I'm not sure.
Because that's a great chunk of time. That's even a whole extra 15 minutes.
There's a lot of other things that, because of the things that we were running, the things that we were, I don't know what to say, bought into. DESA, IEFA that we need to do as a
Right.
district for PD to train. Infinite Campus.
That
There were certain things that we had to do
some of those,
are not on the
Topics-
table anymore.
topics that were consistent across the district, like trauma-informed practices. And for a period of time there, we had a consistent staff. We are starting to get new staff,
Right.
and those things also have to be re-implemented. And so, yeah, that's what Extended Wednesday was. And so it wasn't necessarily collaborative planning. That's what
That's where
prep
that,
period was
right.
used for.
so you don't want collaborative planning, you want administrative planning.
No, I want collaborative planning. I want the language we had last year. It's collaborative planning for that prep
But
period.
you want 37 days? Or are you
I
willing to
want
accept
37
the
weeks.
6?
I want one a week for 37 weeks.
Okay, we're gonna have to put this on hold. Because we're willing to give up.
So let's talk about
You're
this.
willing to do 7 weeks,
Seven.
so 1 day
Not
for
7
7
weeks.
No, you're willing to
So
do
that's one a
1
month.
day for 7 weeks.
About what,
One
not
prep.
quite one a month, but roughly one a month. And that's.
To balance out those 6
Yeah,
days.
I
that you're-
recognize that. I recognize that, but we don't have these yet. I have not agreed to them. So you don't have them. And so, but it doesn't, I mean, our instructional coaches, can't operate coaching cycles, and we have a 20-year instructional coaching program that partners with our mentor program, and to onboard new teachers and give them the support they need. And because there isn't that collaborative planning time, those instructional coaches don't feel like they can go to a
So
teacher
do you
during
have
prep period.
language that you are countering with? I mean,
My counter language is to go back to what we had last year and define collaboration.
Because that, I ended up struggling with that because it puts more work on me as a union rep. Because then I was going to each building and having to
Well,
rep.
and that was in part what I was gonna say before we leave it, I was gonna ask, so. It seems like we have some, and then again, I'm an outsider, I know very little about your district. But it seems like there are some places where this is occurring naturally.
Mhm.
And it worked with the old language. It sounds like there are some places where it did not seem as it not only seemed not valuable, but it seemed harmful from the staff's perspective
Yes.
as a waste of time. And in that perspective, I would assume that they did not feel like it was collaborative, that it was top down.
Mhm.
And so it seems like what we're striving to do is, what I'm hearing is we're striving to go back to the old way. We are. But we need to ensure that where it is working, we figure out why it is working and we replicate that elsewhere. So along those lines, do we have business agents or union reps or head teachers in the different buildings that can meet ahead of time with the administrator and say, okay, what is the agenda? We've already covered that, and make it more of a give and take, so it's not the union president who's the only one having to, because that way it's at the building level.
Right.
And allow that discussion to occur so we can ensure that it is valuable for the building level. And then the other thing that I would suggest is, and we can come up with a counter. Maybe this is what we'll come up with. I'm speaking out of turn because I haven't talked to my team, but the other thing that we could do as part of that is to analyze and assess, are we being effective in having a quality meeting? Getting feedback from the staff that attend the meeting, getting feedback from the administrator, and determining, are we being successful or not? And if we're not, then we need to find a better way of doing it. And truly engaging in the collaborative side of things.
Right.
I think that's a good thing right
Because
there.
I don't mind the collaboration, don't get me
Right.
wrong.
No, it doesn't
I
sound like you
want the
do,
collaboration. It was the enforcement
That makes sense.
and it wasn't,
You've been told you want to go to
collaborative.
the meeting that you don't want to
I
go to.
loved about the collaboration is where the teacher's reflecting on the data, because it doesn't do any good for me to reflect on your data.
so here's another
It's good for
thing.
them to reflect on their data.
What you're talking about is you're constantly talking about reflecting on data. Those meetings shouldn't just be reflecting
No,
on data. It should be teachers collaborating on what they're working in lessons and all these things, and that was
So
never
we-
happening.
Tell you what, there's a whole building that
That's what
was,
I'm thinking, so.
a building was writing lesson plans together.
Right,
And they were like, well, when do we do this now? So in a way, those
Right.
teachers were
They
like,
can do it during their prep.
but this is what they were like, well, they said we can't do, but no, this is them.
So let us.
They said, we can't do this now. When do we write lesson plans together? You know, but this is their lack of knowledge.
So that's a communication thing.
Right.
So
And
let
if
us-
it's not being
From both
communicated.
sides,
I
from
think,
the union as well as the
let's
district.
just throw this in, this. When this was removed and the contract was ratified, that was a selling point.
Understood.
So we need to be
Huge selling
careful
point.
Right.
how that happens.
Right.
If there's an agreement
Mhm.
and we want to get it ratified and done.
Right.
So let
I
us,
think we need to take that under
let
consideration.
us come back and we'll give you a counter.
Yeah.
And
that's a
we're gonna
great
work
one.
towards collaborative with your involvement with a follow-up to ensure the meeting has value.
And I'm hesitant on creating more work for teachers just to collaborate. Does that make sense? So.
Yes and no, in that we
Yes.
have to get their opinion and we
So
need
what
them
happens at the
engaged.
beginning of the year or the very end of the year is it SBE now?
Leadership Week in June.
Okay, leadership. So they make the decisions of what kind of professional development, what happens extended days, right? Is that what happens in June?
So,
Or is that SBE?
so no. So Leadership Week is our building level SLTs
Mhm.
meeting to plan all kinds of things. Their building master schedule.
Right.
Their specials
family
rotations,
engagement.
their family engagement nights, all the systems and structures that support
Hmm.
students and staff across the year. That's what their buildings are meeting. So it's their school leadership team.
Gotcha.
In SBE week, that is our teacher collaborative planning time so that our teachers can, look at the master schedule, see how that's going to implement instruction. Then we have, a lot of times a new curriculum that teachers have an opportunity to have training on. So SBE is collaborative planning with teachers.
Correct.
We changed it
Yeah.
this year from being right after June
Mhm.
to,
Yeah, we flipped those.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Because it made more sense to put the systems and structures in place than have teachers come back and plan.
right.
The way it was happening before, teachers would plan and then the
It
system.
always changed in August. We're always doing
so
double
we
work.
did our strategic planning first,
Mhm.
in April. So that can roll out first, so that we're planning ahead.
Okay.
Because typically we planned already and then we rolled it out in August and that.
One of the things I do want all of us to keep in mind, for one, this is about students, right? The second thing is we have buildings that are in rigorous action, meaning students have not made the gains that they need to make gains for 2 consecutive cycles of comprehensive school improvement. And so we have 3 of those buildings. Through the work that we've done previously, we were able to exit 5 of our schools from comprehensive school improvement to targeted improvement. That's because of all the efforts that we've had from teachers collaborating and engaging with the systems that we've put in place and doing an amazing job teaching in their classrooms every day. Implementing an MTSS system to support academics, but also behavior. And so
Okay, so if we're going back to the specific issue of this prep time, that was still in the contract during the school year where we were placed into.
Yeah.
For your signature.
yes. So we were placed in rigorous action this school year.
Oh, we've been in.
No, we were in comprehensive school improvement.
Oh,
So,
no.
so rigorous action is, so all of our schools at one time or another have been in comprehensive school improvement.
So that
When you-
placement this year is based on data from
Two-
the school year.
It's based on data across 2 consecutive cycles of comprehensive improvement that we did not exit comprehensive and school improvement for those schools. So now those schools are in rigorous action.
But those 2 cycles of saying comprehensive
Yeah.
school improvement, during those 2 years where we were in comprehensive school improvement and then placed into the rigorous action, based off of that, the specific issue we're talking about here, the once a week prep meeting was in the contract during those.
Yes. Yes, it was. It was. But we were also during COVID, remote learning during those years. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So now we are trying to recoup from that.
Totally.
I mean, it is unfortunate because we have some amazing schools. Not Elementary should not be in rigorous action. They do not meet the criteria. OPI decided they met the criteria when they didn't. Their data showed that they didn't, but they did. And we have advocated to have them removed. And I believe with the new superintendent, we can go back and do that now. But we still have 2 other schools in rigorous action.
Work with you.
Your student instruction hours, 1,080. Where are you in? You know, in hours with the current schedule you have, assuming there's not a change to the.
Yeah,
Right now, we are,
slightly different across buildings due to that busing schedule.
so we have, the high school, the seniors are the closest to the 1,050. Cause they are 1,050. And everybody else is 1,080 from 4th grade to 11th grade.
What is that?
Aggregate.
So you don't have any cushions built in at all?
We
Yeah,
do.
we have
We
cushions
have,
for
We haven't
everybody.
used any of our emergency days yet.
but we have
Remote days.
cushions put in because we have severe weather.
And I see that you.
We have some.
That's kind of an understatement.
Has, remote days built, remote day schedules built in.
And
It's
hours.
the reason I'm asking that is.
So our,
When the state moved from 187 days to 1,080 hours. In many districts, that freed up a chunk of time to do the very things that you're talking about.
and the reason why it may not for us is because we still have a policy that says 180 days. We did not change the policy to 1,080 hours. So we are still having.
And I don't know that they have 1,080
Okay.
hours in there. The students are still present.
Yeah.
There's a day that is simply shorter because they can give up, student instruction time is shorter because they can give up some of that and still meet the requirements. And
Couple of pieces that we have that most schools do not is a 45-minute teacher lunch period and a 45-minute teacher prep.
And so
that
we all
limits
bust
our
together as
instructional
well
time.
too. So our elementary, they go 1080 just as.
So our-
just as much
our-
as the high school.
Elementary building that has the most hours is 1161. And our building with the least hours is 1049, the high school.
So the lunch helps me understand part of that. It's common. The 45-minute prep is almost universal. It's usually called a class period or equivalent to a class period. Right. For those that don't run in.
Yeah.
So that, and I'm just looking for solutions where your needs could be met.
Yeah.
For that time.
And we
And then
negotiated
can be met
years
as
back.
We had a 35.
We had 30-minute lunch period. But that meant the kids had 30 minutes. And when you have 8 third grade classes and they're doing 15 minutes recess, 15-minute lunch, it didn't work. Yes, we had kids not getting food.
There was a time we had a 35.
Yeah, our principals.
I haven't been here and I've been here 10 years.
When we were,
35.
when we were doing the 4 days full week planning work that we have done up to this point, in preparation, if that changes. We talked about that lunch period and our principal said, we cannot go back to anything less.
cannot.
Because it takes that much time
By the
to do
time they get
exactly what you're
the
talking
line,
about. Because we can only serve half of our
And with
kids.
Browning
in-
Elementary, that's the
kitchen
school
at
that
one
needs
time.
more time.
Right, right.
Out of all schools,
Yeah.
Browning Elementary and
Right.
that high school is just too.
I mean, I
so good.
just, you always cringe when you'd flip and your kids ate last.
Oh, I tell
You
you
were
what,
never
Dana,
sure if your kids were
Dana,
eating
we had.
when you go to pick them up.
We had a 35-minute lunch, but the student lunch stayed 45. And it was just, we had to still just, we were there monitor 10 minutes. I was at teaching.
There are some days that have students.
Oh, and you're the golden.
Whatever.
When I first started at the middle school.
That's why I don't
the 5-minute lunches and some
Yeah.
of this is ineffective in having a chunk of time to do the things that they need to do. So you just, that was what I was thinking.
What did you say, Shelley?
What I was thinking for solutions, compromises, whatever, in many of the schools that didn't go to 1,080 hours, they still maintained the 180 student contact days, 7 PIR days, like it was prior to. Some of those schools would have a day that was a lunchtime release for students, which then allowed a larger period of time to do the things you're talking about with staff. And that seemed to be in some cases helpful, in some cases, the same things would happen that it wasn't planned, it wasn't whatever, but it provided a block of time to work with. Right. So, yeah, I don't know what you could do, but that's one that's.
I know in the last school board meeting, you mentioned changing instead of days to hours in policy. Are you guys gonna approach that again this next one?
It'll be on the board agenda for second reading. Yeah.
Right. All right, I was just curious.
Would that, if the 4-day week is voted down, would we still consider changing from days to hours? So
There's been some discussion with the board because we do recognize many of them are not totally opposed to a 4-day school. And they do recognize that there are some very culturally appropriate holidays that we could be taking that fit in. And so they are considering that.
That fit well with the, when people are like, the tribe's off. Oh,
Right.
half of our kids are gone,
Sure.
Yeah. So even if
There's no garbage.
a 4-day
pickup,
week
the day off.
isn't implemented, they are looking at changing that to allow us some flexibility to provide more 4-day weeks throughout the course of the year because of those holidays.
Right, I was just curious about that. I wanted to ask you that too. All right,
I do feel like there's a lot of solutions. And there's a lot of things that you guys are concerned about
right.
with thought processes and I think coming to the table saying, well, this is what I was thinking, this is what you're thinking. I just feel that's really positive.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, we're open to collaboration, absolutely. Just maybe not so much time, because that's a big chunk of time when you're trying to, here's what's happening. On Facebook, I'd see just finished lesson planning Sunday night. So teachers were like using their personal time, their weekends to get the job that should have been done at work done. Just finished prepping my classroom for the week. I mean, there's so many things. And it's like, oh my gosh, our poor teachers need to have a personal life. And I still cringe when I see that, but it's not as frequent. And
there's a piece of that, Dana, that we have teachers using their prep time for personal time. It is still school time, but they're choosing to use it to schedule doctor's appointments and do multiple things, run back home to do something, and they can.
right,
But
We're
it's
humans.
still school time.
right.
And so they were given that time, but they chose to do something else with it.
It's so interesting when I've had the teacher, but I'm prepping, I gotta get this done, leave me alone. I was like,
Right.
so again, but there are times when I hear people say, oh, I just wish we had time to do this. I need to meet with all the 10th grade people. I wish we had time to do that. No, okay.
But that's never gonna happen in 10th grade on a prep. That would have to be an extended day. Because the scheduling,
You just never
all
know.
of 10th grade,
But you just never know on who can meet during that prep. If it's an English, if it's a science, if it's a social studies, you never know.
We'll work on camera.
we can. Okay.
Appreciate the conversation.
Mhm.
What else you got?
So, we did talk about proposal 7. There are several things, in here that, we recognize this language was, you know, it's pretty general, but we feel like in the current bargaining agreement, it is there. So looking at, you know, or maybe just with a modification of our just cause, and like 7, with that paragraph, that's workman's comp. Workman's comp does cover that, period. And
However, what we're asking for is like school-related leave for our, because I've heard multiple times this year and previous years, teachers being attacked by students, being bit, being hit, and having to go to the emergency room to get checked out. And they're having to use their sick and personal leave. We want the district to be responsible. If you're getting attacked by a student, then we would like the district to provide that school-related leave for that teacher to be checked out medically without having to go through a whole
Workers' comp issue, though, it should be provided.
Should be, but it's not.
Yeah, but it would fall under workers' comp.
Help me understand that, what you're saying. You want them to file a workman's comp claim when they get bit?
no, we don't.
Wouldn't it fall under workers' comp? I mean, it's happening on the job.
In
So,
the past,
I think we should talk about
provided-
that.
I have provided teachers leave to just go and get checked out. If it is a workman's comp, then that's something else, but I provided them to just leave for the day.
Right, that's you as a principal, but there are other principals not doing that.
so there's a whole bunch of items here. Is that really, is that what precipitated this list on item number
Part of
7?
it, yeah.
Okay, okay. So if that's what it is, we'll look at it, yeah, because we looked at it, and this is covering a whole bunch
Right.
of stuff.
It is.
And so if the issue really is somebody is injured and we want them to get medical attention because they were injured while they were on the job, we'll
Yeah.
talk about that and responding kind. We're responding in terms of all of these, so let us take a look in
Okay.
and we'll respond.
Sounds good. Yeah, because
But I mean, I think this is bigger than just someone getting bit on the job site.
So help me understand what it all includes.
So, do you want to talk about like this one here too? 'Cause this is one that we've heard from a lot of teachers as
the
well.
microaggressions and bullying,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Or
let's
being
go-
reprimanded publicly in front of others, that happens quite frequently as well. That's a management thing, and that kind of needs to come from you guys to management. That the microaggressions, the bullying, or the being reprimanded publicly, I mean, we need to be professional.
I don't disagree with that. When I first came to the district and heard stories of
Yeah.
when OPI was coming into the building, you know, like
Right.
principals responding to the input OPI was providing very often, created situations that made us.
So that creates a
And
level
so-
of distrust.
And so we're still kind of in a little bit, not every one of our principals is doing that. Some of them are being very respectful. But we do have some that are still kind of, you know, they were teachers during that time
Mhm.
and now they're administrators. So, I do agree. We need to have some respect, and I need to
Do
manage.
you feel like that's still going on just now, right now?
I would say yes.
Right now, okay.
Well, I don't know about specifically right now, but
I mean, like.
yes,
like
this year. Mhm. Oh, yeah.
So this is a touchy subject, because on the one hand, it's very difficult to put in a contract language because it's not enforced. I mean, that's the problem. You have just cause will cover you in terms of an adverse penalty to the employee. So we can't harm you, but that doesn't mean that we can't harm your reputation.
Right.
And that's what we're talking about, and professionalism. The other side of this is we don't want to create a culture where we're tattling on each other.
Right.
But
But if those people are feeling like that, there is a process.
we need to know about it.
Yeah.
And we need to create channels that allows for that communication. And oftentimes the employee in question won't feel comfortable bringing the criticism forward. Just because they've already been kicked. So we need to find a way to make sure that those are, because we can't take action to fix the
If we
problem.
don't know.
If we don't know, we believe, it sounds like we believe that the problem has been addressed or we thought it was significantly better. But if we don't know it, we can't take action. So you guys need to help us with it.
I have to say there have been some actions lately that are helping that. So I want to say thank you because
So you
I
feel like
do
it,
recognize that there are some adjustments there are changes happening in the future that are going to help that.
Okay.
Especially in specific buildings, and you guys know what I'm talking about.
I was just.
I'm gonna say, you guys know, I
That's
know.
why I was gonna ask you.
Yeah.
Let me shift back. I think this came from the personnel files section and disciplinary communication maybe. This first portion, I can speak to the ones that I know, but I don't know about the microaggressions or any of that kind of thing. That first one, making sure that folks are aware there's been a complaint or a criticism. That's important, and I think that protects you as well.
Yeah.
Isn't that already in the, isn't that already in there?
It is not, and
So I
that's
just read it.
problematic.
Right.
Yeah. There've been a couple complaints that I've had to sit in on where teachers are immediately getting a Weingartner letter
Well, one
and
of,
they don't know what
one
for.
of the things that we need to communicate better, that the Weingarten isn't necessarily discipline.
Right.
Sometimes it is just a fact-finding meeting.
Right.
And with union representation. And so we do need to communicate that better, both on the classified and certified side.
Just so that they're aware that if we were to talk to them prior, without giving that letter and
And
then do
without
something,
giving them the
that we'd
opportunity.
be not in a
Yeah.
good spot.
But it sat on a couple where the teacher had no clue what was even coming down the pipe. So just that open
Like
communication.
no clue about a Weingarten?
No, knowing the Weingartner letter, but not knowing what it was about. So
Oh,
if
so you guys-
here's the process in our current policy. If a parent complains about a teacher, they're not being told to talk to the teacher first.
Okay.
It's skipping that chain of command and it's immediately going up. So that's what this first one is bring it to the attention of the teacher involved. Let's start following what we're saying in our policy.
You know, what's really interesting, like, so in the number of complaints that have come across my desk across the course of the year, there are very few, I can only think of a couple that are actually a complaint about a teacher.
Right.
They are complaints about everything else. But the teacher.
Most of the time they want the
The
teacher.
ones I'm sitting in on
Yeah, I know.
are complaints about this, well, previous,
So-
not lately.
Okay, because I was like, okay. Is it with
A few months
the
back.
principal and the teacher?
Well, it was
Or-
from parents against a teacher,
Oh.
but it went straight to the principal instead of, see what I mean?
Okay.
Our parents aren't following the policy and then our principals aren't
And then
following the
our
policy.
principals aren't putting. it
Yeah, and then
back
all of a
to
sudden the
the
Weingartner
teacher.
letter is being sent to a teacher and they have no idea why, because that communication was cut off.
I guess I was thinking, I'm the only one that writes Weingarten.
So
My bad. I don't like that they're called that.
I was gonna say.
I know, I don't either. I don't
Okay,
either.
so we need to
Never
work
had
on the terminology, because so a wine. Shelley and I probably have similar concerns. So the Weingarten case, it's a case, and what it says is that a member of a union who is engaged in a discussion with their supervisor can, at any point in time that they feel that the conversation could lead to discipline, has the right to call timeout on the conversation and have a union rep of their choosing present, as long as it's within a reasonable period of time and that sort of thing. The union rep has a right to take an active role in the meeting, and then you continue on.
Your Weingartner rights.
So that's your Weingarten rights. So I'm not sure what the Weingarten letter
Our district
is.
That's what our district calls it.
Called
has
it,
called
and
it.
I've been complaining about that, but this is previous years
So that's,
before these guys.
but
It's not a Weingartner letter,
the-
it's a
but
discipline.
the employee triggers the Weingarten side of things. The district doesn't. We continue
Correct.
with the conversation. And if the employee chooses not to engage it, that's on them. So it's not up to us to say you have the right to have a representative present. It's on the employee side of things.
And it's not up to us to get that person.
No, because, and the reason why we don't.
Make sure they're there.
It is, and it sounds bad, but the reason why we don't want to do that is because if for some reason we didn't. So if we got in the practice of always telling you to bring your union rep, and then we forget to do it on one occasion, we discipline the employee, then we have a problem with just cause because we're not treating everybody the same. So it's better off putting the onus, it's part of your responsibility as a union to train your members to know that when there is a conversation that could lead to discipline, you have the right to have, that's one of the advantages of belonging to a union. You have the right to have somebody present to stand beside you to provide you support. And we will make sure that you have somebody there. So
Other schools give that
Label it.
notice, like, how do they give them that notice?
I think, explain to me your process.
yeah, that's where.
That would be really helpful because Dana has come to me and said they've gotten a wine garden letter and I'm,
What is that?
I've been complaining about this
An
too.
issue with a staff member that there's a concern that's been brought forward.
Okay,
I say, Rebecca, I have a meeting, I have a meeting with you at this time, this date in my office to discuss, this policy.
so is that actual discipline or investigation to the discipline?
Investigation regarding this. And then it states in the letter, these are the letters that we were given. You have, as per your Weingarten rights, you have the right to have a representative. And then it says, da, da, da. She signs it. I keep a copy,
Okay,
da, da, da.
okay.
And we meet saying this, tell me about this date, tell me about this incident regarding this, tell me about it.
Yeah, yeah. And then you render a decision, you go from there.
letter probably comes from school board association.
Yeah, it
that
does.
Districts
It does.
use. I've never heard it called wine garden and it's not used in every instance. It's used in very serious
Oh, I
investigative.
was just told use it every time. That's
And if
basically.
you want to have a conversation with me, that you're, get it together. We see you leaving during your prep,
Yeah.
doing what it,
You came in like last
came in late.
three times last
Well,
week.
you know, in law class, they used to say, pull your person aside and say, get your stuff together. You know, you've been coming in late, da, 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 da. And then I was like, really? You could do that without a union rep? You can do that without whatever? And they're like, yeah, you can.
conversation,
Yeah.
that's not disciplinary
Right.
action. And when you say investigation, to me, that means you're going to interview people, you're going to, you're gonna do all the things.
And I think that's what the terror of the title Weingarten or whatever. It's terrifying everybody,
He's come to be sentenced.
right? It's like, I've been telling them, wait, these are your Weingarten rights. This is the reason you asked for.
So we
your-
had.
So we'll work on the terminology of the
Yeah,
form.
we had
We'll work on
meetings
that.
this week and we did give that letter because we weren't sure what was gonna come from it. And.
Well, yeah,
and
'cause
really, out of these
we would-
two, nothing came from it.
Well, and that happens very
Yeah.
frequently, and sometimes those investigations actually end up protecting staff
Yeah.
based
rather
on
than-
what you find. And what I was gonna say is the letter that I'm sure is the template
I
from the
don't know that
Board
it is.
Association. I tell folks, every letter I've seen, the first paragraph says, here's a problem, second paragraph says you have a right to represent it.
Yeah.
Third paragraph says.
When
About
actually,
parity
I
rights.
tell you that every letter that I've sent out has resulted in discipline except for these two that we sent out today. I mean, that we met with this. So a majority of them have, the other ones were talked to, so they were not a letter.
Weingarten rights are in here.
So the letters that I see are very, that's why I said it probably came from these guys, because they're very scripted with,
Yeah,
here's the issue.
here's the policy.
You can have
A
a
rep.
wine garden if you want, you don't have to. It references Garrity for everybody's protection, and there's a summary that we are not gonna do anything until we've concluded an investigation, and I see those typically when there's a something larger than let's get it together.
Yeah.
They're not turning their lesson plans in or like whatever it is. That's when I see those letters. And I will say, while it's the responsibility of the employee to make the request for representation, when I talk to my presidents or whoever, I was, when you have two people in a room, quickly you can end up with misinterpretations
Yeah.
or he said, she said, having someone else in the room is always helpful.
It is, cause you're scared.
And
Sometimes you're scared.
we like it when Dana comes or any other union rep.
Yeah.
It just, or Violet, it really is helpful
Yeah,
for the district side of it too.
Yeah.
'cause, yeah, the employees oftentimes can't hear what's being said.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
that's what having third parties.
So while legally that, or anytime they feel that a meeting can lead to a disciplinary action, they can make that request within, in reasonable timeframes and not choosing who they want there and all the things that I would tell them. But your letter has always given me pause when I hear that. And what is this? Are we disciplining? Are we formal investigation? Are we having a conversation? What are we doing?
Yeah.
So that's.
So we need to work a little bit on that. We can take care of that. That's an easy fix.
So, but I do think in those letters, it doesn't give, you did A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the, we don't lay that out. That's never in those letters. So no parties know. What's in those letters is there's been an allegation of inappropriate conduct.
Yeah.
In
A violation of policy or
whatever it is.
Yeah.
I don't know that, I don't know, that's not in here anywhere. I would like to see that in there. I give them the suggestion that this be, not this.
So for
there's
number
things in
one.
here, but specifically number one, number two, just for protection, nothing goes in without being signed. And I just finished a settlement case, like pulled the personnel file, and there were several letters in there that weren't signed. Do we know that the employee ever saw the letter if it isn't signed?
So what happens when the employee
they refuse
refuses
it?
to sign?
Then you have a
Then
third
you-
party come in
And have
and
them
you
sign
show the fact and have them observe the fact that the employee did not sign and you document the fact that the employee was given the opportunity to sign and chose not to.
Okay.
And that way you've documented the fact that the employee had the opportunity to read and respond.
Generally, right above that, I either tell if I'm around, right, this does not mean I agree.
Right, and that's usually, that's right on our evaluations,
The district will put that. right
And
above
our
signature.
discipline letters.
This indicates that I have seen, not that I agree with.
Correct.
I like to have that memorialized also, that we're not putting anything in a file unless folks know that it's going in there. Everything's above board. We don't have I think that gives some peace of mind that they're not just putting things wherever.
We
Not
also,
meaning you.
I think we should also let both sides know that a third party can write that statement saying you refuse to sign it. That way everybody's just aware.
So I've been adding that to when I sit with people before or after. I like to meet with them before, and sometimes that doesn't happen. Let them know whatever you sign doesn't mean you agree to it.
Exactly. And that's usually on that.
But you're just signing that you've received it.
Okay. And
Um,
always tell them you can rebut and send it in there.
And I let them know that that's where they need to do their job and their work
And
to do
sometimes they
it.
don't rebut
Nope,
it.
they sure don't. And I'm like, I'm waiting for your rebuttal. I can help you edit it. Let me
You can
know.
send it right to Rebecca. You don't have to. give
You
it to
have
me.
10 days.
So, we only have 10 minutes left, but I do have two things that I need to address and I need us to try to resolve today. Otherwise, we're gonna lose valuable staff to that support students. One of them being going back to that collective bargaining unit. It includes PT, OT, speech paths, school psychologists. And we've had to contract those positions and many of them are remote. So it does create a little bit of a problem with this bargaining agreement because no other teachers are remote. And then TRS is pushing back because some of them don't meet the eligibility of an independent contractor and we need to pay TRS for them. Another issue is the compensation for like a physical therapist is not in line with our current salary schedule. It's significantly more. We can't contract a PT for, this, and it's an essential service for our SPED students. So I guess ideally,
Do you have proposals?
I do. Ideally, what I would like to do is remove them from this agreement, this collective bargaining agreement, and hire them as professional technical employees. We can still pay TRS. It is a group that isn't under a bargaining unit, so we can allow them to work remote. And I will comply, except for that physical therapist, with the salary schedule. We can do that for every other position except the PT.
Okay. You guys want to meet and confer?
I do have one other before you meet. I would like to add the childcare coordinator under this agreement because that position is going to shift. With Rose's retirement, we are looking at creating a CTE pathway for childcare so that they can come out of high school with a childcare license to support the community with lack of childcare. And so it would become like a teacher on special assignment, like Violet is a teacher on special assignment as the district test coordinator, or our instructional coaches are. Because of that teaching component and that teacher license, we would like to fold them under this agreement.
So you want to bring the childcare coordinator under the certified agreement?
Mhm.
Okay, but remove physical therapists and
OT,
speech paths,
PT, OT, speech paths, school psychologists.
PT, OT, speech path.
We are just.
And what was the
Schools
fourth one?
Both sides. We are so rural, we cannot get them on site. And that really is an issue with this bargaining agreement. But we also have an issue with independent contractors because not all of them meet that status and we do have to pay TRS. So we need to get them and as an employee of the district, not just through a CSA, so that we can pay teachers' retirement for them.
Okay.
Do you need that decision?
Yes, because right now, they don't have a contract for next year. And if they don't have one within the next board meeting or a solution to this, then they are going to look for employment elsewhere. And we have a lot of years, like our school psychologists, we now have 3 years of figuring out how to do remote assessment. And so it takes a long time to have remote employees and then figure out how to support the process as it is intended with a remote employee. And so we have school psychs that have been here 3 years. We have speech paths that have been here 5 and 6 years. Our PT and OT, the OT's been here 2 years and the PT's been here 3 years. And so right now, because they don't meet the independent contractor status, we cannot provide them with a CSA for next year. And we just need to create them as an employee of the district. And I think to protect the integrity of the certified agreement, it's much better to release them and have the district hire them as professional technical and align every position except PT with the salary schedule, because we can meet it for every position except that one.
So they'll be aligned with the salary schedule, but they'll still be outside of the contract.
Yes, yes.
Wait, what?
But they'll be professional technical staff, but they'll still be.
And the reason I'm saying professional technical is because they are remote. I don't want any teacher asking to go to remote.
Right.
We
Makes
can't.
sense.
And so by having these employees as district employees under this agreement, that's what it creates for us, is the opportunity that every one of our other employees wants to go to remote.
Okay, so if they are remote, they're professional technical. But they're not but that you want them under our contract. But they're
No,
not.
They just
no,
need-
and outside of the contract.
Well,
Okay,
and
okay.
the thing for us is that takes away potential union members.
Agreed, but they are required positions to serve our special education students. And if we lose them, or they're actually any one of these positions, we have not had an on-site applicant for probably 10 years. So we do have to contract them because we're rural. We have to do it remotely. And so, I mean, they are essential positions to serve our kids.
How many are we talking about?
There's one PT, one OT, 4 speech paths, and 3 school psychologists.
9,
Nine.
1 OT,
Mm-hmm,
3 speech paths,
mm-hmm. 4 speech paths.
and
Oh, I take that back, 5. We have one that works just a few, like less than 20
and
hours.
then how many school psychs?
2, 3.
Oh.
So
that's
there's
good.
10.
So we'll meet you first.
So if you guys put these guys on our salary schedules, who's to say your other professional technicals won't say, well, they're on there, they're professional technical, can't we be on there too?
We're removing them. I'm asking to remove
Right,
them.
from our
from the
contract, but to still be on our pay scale.
Well, because they have a Montana educator license,
They're
or
different
they
from other
have
professional
like
technical.
speech paths, they're nationally board certified.
Right,
PT, OT, same thing. School psychologists have a Montana educator license. So we can take those positions and align them to the salary schedule with their user of experience, with their education, and those pieces. Our other professional technical employees are employees that don't necessarily have a degree, or their position doesn't require one, or a license of any kind. And so that group in our district allows us flexibility in hiring. It's always been
Okay.
just a more flexible group. And the reason I'm asking for them to join that group is because they're remote, and it gives us that flexibility to have them remote without impacting the integrity of our certified agreement.
and I'm fine with that, I just was, if
Wanting
the
clarity?
other, yes, if the other professional technical people came in and said, well,
Yeah, there's no salary schedule for that group necessarily. It's just a random group, and they're
So I think-
uniquely different.
I think what I hear you saying is the intent is not to pull them and pay them some.
no, I understand that, that they want to
Still
on our
pay
salary
their-
schedule, and that's fine.
And that's what I'm hearing,
Mhm.
the consistency with the salary schedule,
Yes.
so that you're not just
Right.
throwing cash where.
Right.
Okay.
Throw it my way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm about to get hit with a bag of cash, but that never happens.
You guys hungry?
Yeah.
Sweet.
We do have one.
Then they can become a professional technical.
This is a nice
employee.
bag, man.
Oh, and we can compensate them. That's like, yeah, so.
They salads too.
Oh,
That's the topic. That's, I mean, what their contract stuff.
like union protections?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is that risk.
Okay.
There is that risk.
So this is a permissive subject to bargain. So they can say we don't want to talk about it, and it'll be done. But so like a plan B though, we could potentially create an appendix in the back that says the following in.
Kind of like our
Positions.
nurses, huh?
Yeah, just like the nurses, the following positions shall be excluded from. We should, the district may be able to bargain individual terms and conditions of employment with the following positions. And so that you would then be able to allow for remote, and it would just be for that group. So that's a plan B. If they come back and say, no, that'll be
That
our,
is a good idea.
that'll
Really
be,
good.
that'll
And I'm
be
okay.
our.
Yeah.
Alternative option. That way they
Yeah.
keep the member. But, and I think they'll be okay with that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think that sounds good. We have just been at
You
this
just need-
we've been at this for several years trying to create an MOU. And I've asked Dana since October that we need to get this in place.
Yeah.
TRS is pushing back on us.
I
We
get it.
need to get these.
I get it. We fought, Miles City, we fought forever to give them. Like, to give the one group a huge raise, which we did. In fact, we had to give the teachers more money in order to give these guys more money. And then the following fall, just like you have, they all went to work for the hospital. I mean, they just, because they get so much money elsewhere.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm impressed that you haven't any at all. So they had Kalispell or are they in Montana?
We have two school psychs that are from Kalispell, one that's actually from Illinois.
Okay.
Our speech paths, one's from Florida, three are in-state, one is actually from Canada.
Okay, okay.
Our
okay.
PST is from Virginia and our
You got them all over.
policy, yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
And they're probably not members of the union now anyway.
No, they're not.
Okay. So hopefully they're okay with it, but if not, we have a plan B. So, okay. And you want to get this done by the time school gets?
Well, this one I want to be able to.
No, I know you want this one right away. So we'll do a memorandum to get this one done right away. Okay,
Yeah.
so we haven't talked about a lot of the other ones. So,
Mhm.
okay. Think there'd be any interest in doing like an all-day bargaining session?
Maybe. Yeah,
Because I think we can get a lot done.
Yeah.
I think.
agreed. Yeah,
Any-
maybe we could do that.
Have two separate rooms and go back and forth and just nail it and get it put together. So,
Yeah, let's schedule that. I like
see if
that
we
idea.
can't do that.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, and
Just-
we will provide lunch for them. They can bring in snacks at every time.
But yeah, I think that would be
Great. Thank you for asking.
Tell us everything.
Do tell.
Nice,
Everything.
nice and slow, so we can write it down in the minutes.
Let me tell you.
Okay.
I'm trying to avoid
elections.
What do you think?
Will agree to remove the 10, 1 PT, 1 OT, 3 or 5 pass, speech pass, and the 3 school psychs from our contract.
Okay. Just
Those
those
positions.
positions.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then adding the childcare coordinator is okay with us.
So are you okay if I put together a memorandum of understanding, just so that we can make that
I don't think
trigger?
it needs to be a memo. We just put it in our language.
If they need it right now.
Oh.
Because we're under a current
Yes.
contract,
because
yeah.
we've not-
Okay, yeah.
We're on site, so, okay, so if we put something together,
Yeah.
we'd be a favor.
And then just give us a proposal of the language you want in that.
Okay.
And then we'll take a look at that.
I have a quick question, and this is just for curiosity's sake. So does that mean that I wouldn't pay them anymore as CSAs?
Yes, they would go under payroll. Mhm. Yeah.
By all means.
We good? Good
We're
evening.
good. Except for,
No, you don't get any more.
yeah, not anymore to go to. What about an all-day session?
Sounds good.
Okay,
Let us know when.
can we?
We can
look at
have
it
to
and-
go around their schedule.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Polite calendars, people.
As soon as possible, but around their schedules, yes.
When you say all day, what?
So we can 8 to 4.
8 to 4?
24-hour session.
I'm at a place where I'm.
8, they're traveling. So what about 9 or 10 to 4? To give them time to travel.
Whatever works, I have a place that's not terribly far from here, so I can make it work, whatever we need, so.
You have a calendar?
It's not fancy, but I do, so.
Nice.
No, I grew up in Columbia Falls, and we left Columbia Falls when I was 11, and we always come back every year as a family to a place called Glacier Wilderness Resort, which is between here and West Glacier. So I'm on the board over there, and they were struggling financially, so my dad, before COVID, my mom and dad thought, well, we'll buy some property so that the future can be taken care of. So yes, I have a small off-grid cabin, and so yes,
Fun.
it is. So, but I can, so in terms of days. So next week for me is totally booked. I don't know what it looks like for you.
We could cancel Great Falls on Tuesday and just come here instead.
Totally cool with that.
We don't want to make Great Falls.
Well, we could celebrate.
Great Falls, Great Falls will be getting all these thank you.
Yeah,
And they're like, what?
actually, I could do Friday the 16th. I can do
At a 1 o'clock that day.
20th and 21st.
No,
I
You
can say,
guys- I have you on the 20th. You're on my calendar on the 20th, so I have the 19th and 20th.
it's me on the calendar for the 20th.
Browning.
Right, because
It was
we've
every
been doing
other
every other
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Oh, I don't have that on my calendar. Okay.
we actually hadn't set
We
that
hadn't
one.
fully set that, yeah.
Okay.
I just
Do
threw
the
the every
20th?
other Tuesday on.
No,
it.
nine,
It's just a bit-
Yeah.
Just coordinators.
So I have the 19th and 20th.
I have the 20th.
You have the 20th,
But you?
19th.
19th.
She has the
I have
19th and
19th
20th,
and
but
20 open.
he.
I can do the 19th. I can do the 19th. I just have to, I have a strategic planning session that I have to do remotely. So I would need to be done with you guys by 6, so I could be back at the cabin by 7 and do the strategic planning session with them at 7. So we could set for certain.
Wow, that's a long day.
In the evening,
That's a long
7 in the
time.
evening.
Yeah, 7 in the evening.
Can we
It's-
be done by 4? I have a thing at 4.
Yeah.
4 to 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 19th.
All day browning.
Monday?
I know.
Are we grumpy on Mondays?
What did we
bring
decide
chips.
for a start time?
What time can you get here? What time can you get here from Great Falls? What's,
Jen,
So-
you are the owner of this.
Oh, am I? Okay.
Will you create session number 5?
Session number 5.
And with that day,
If we could
Um,
do like 9:30, it would give me a cushion to get here without I'm not an awesome person, I apologize. And if
Okay.
you don't want me.
Well, you need to, that actually works.
So 9:30 to 4.
Cause then I can go take care of stuff at the school and get that stuff situated and zip up there.
Okay.
Becky, can you fix it? I'm not in my right mind.
And then
You're left
she's
one.
left until 6:30 today.
So we'll remove that, so we won't meet on the 20th.
No, Monday, May 19th, 9:30 to 4.
We're not gonna meet the 20th in the evening,
Oh, in the evening is fine. I can
4
do
to
the evening.
6 still?
The 20th.
Or are we just gonna try and wrap it all up?
I would suggest we do that, yeah, you,
We just wrap it all
So
up the
before
night.
we make that decision, you've got another week. I'm hearing rumblings of a 4-day week, which throws another wrench into things here.
So
We are gonna be.
we'll be
The board
talking about
meetings
it at the next board agenda,
When is the
Which
next?
next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
So it'll be there.
13th.
Then we have a meeting the end of May.
Wednesday.
28th.
The 28th.
Yeah. Mhm.
So we probably should schedule something, huh, just in case?
Hopefully,
June?
No, because we have a
Kidding.
ratification meeting, hopefully the
Oh my
27th.
God, I almost got bit.
I'm not inviting, don't be so dramatic.
No, her.
Oh,
I mean,
She was gonna fight me.
the other thing we can do is they can
Me?
put together whatever they put together and then we can MOU the 4-day week. It's not like that hasn't happened before.
I mean, that would be my preferred way.
realistically thinking, like right now we're working on language. Whatever we agree on is going to be the language moving forward. So the only piece that we are going to have to negotiate is the work hours.
And the calendar?
And,
No.
and the calendar committee has to meet to develop the calendar. But we would just come back and negotiate those hours.
The things that
Which-
end up being implicated with a 4-day week. In a contract, I mean, you're sickly, you do half days, do you do hours?
We do hours.
So maybe it would be less. I'll try to put some time in and see all the things that might be touched by that switch.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess go back to your other 4-day ones that you worked on and see what was.
What would
do you have Haver?
Good. Christine has Haver,
Okay.
but I have a bunch that have gone to 4-day weeks.
Yeah,
and
you have
A
a full area.
Are there A schools or just
To
BNC?
see what might be like. Did you, okay, thank you, appreciate that.
That's Cicely.
Haver is an A school and they have a 4-day and
Yeah, and that's.
somebody else. Okay.
I just have to see where state game is and I'll make sure.
No.
Home Sunday.
Come home Sunday.
So if we could do that because.
We can figure it out. I know that, so I did it in Miles City 2 years ago. It's pretty common, so. This is just Andy speaking. I don't find it impacts the certified bargaining unit all that much. It impacts the classified bargaining unit extraordinarily.
Yeah, sure.
And so that's where I found the major.
That might be where you're.
And that group works, those negotiators for that group work all summer long. So that one could be
Yeah, that
done in
one,
the summer
and I
and
don't expect to be wrapped up quickly, but. I've seen Andy with the 4-day week, we changed the duty day and then how much is the prep time and then.
That stuff can all be implemented.
But those can be MOU just as easily, we can settle this up as though we're staying 5 days.
So
Do we put anything in there saying?
No, your board makes the decision.
Okay.
And then I hope we don't have to demand, but that's a technical term, the bargaining implications of the change to the work day. And it's required by law.
you won't have to demand.
We'll just need to do our thing.
Yeah.
If you want a letter, I'll send a letter today
No.
to you or whatever.
yeah,
We'll we gotta do.
yeah.
So, all right.
Okay.
Well, thank you guys for,
We go-
thank you for allowing us to
Are
remove.
we
this
doing the
people.
20th or not?
Just,
We're gonna leave it open for now.
Okay.
we'll decide that Monday if we need to continue on and use those.
So the reason why I would suggest that if you leave it, in most cases, it will be filled.
We don't want to let that go.
Do you want to schedule that one?
Yes, let's keep
You
it.
want me to schedule it?
It's still on there,
Okay.
isn't it?
No,
Oh,
Okay,
shit.
pass.
We didn't schedule our side. We have them scheduled, you two.
Yeah, well,
I don't have,
Oh,
it.
you
I
don't have-
can- I can put it on my.
no, Rebecca's gonna put another one on there for
Okay.
us.
Sounds good.
So we are the 20th at 4.
4 to 6. If we need it, we'll decide that Monday.
It's just.
And it might just,
Yeah, if you.
But it,
Otherwise,
Right.
it'll be done.
exactly, that's why.
the trick is though. I would suggest you push it to the 27th, just because if you met all day on the 19th. And you have an issue in which you haven't resolved, in most places, most of the time, you gotta go back and either A, get feedback from your respective parties. Or B, you gotta think about the complexities involved, so I just find that oftentimes if we put back-to-back pieces like that, it isn't.
We're still in that same spot.
It's not an effective use of
So
time.
at the 27th, because we just scheduled the union meeting to ratify on the 27th.
Perfect, so let's leave the 20th, we'll leave the 20th, just know that I often don't
Another
find it to be a
session at another place.
deal, the 20th. Cool, let's
27th.
keep, oh, I
So
was gonna say, let's.
goal
let's
for the
get-
next one is to wrap this up.
Wrap
Amen.
that up the
We're
first
gonna do
day.
what we can,
And,
so,
So we could change locations of the actual meeting. That
good,
would change our mindset just a little bit.
Go ahead. The mountains?
No, but like Andy's saying is like if we are at a contentious area,
yeah, no, it's true.
just making, being in different
It,
physical space, yeah.
it would be helpful to have your stuff electronically, that way we can respond right away and you can see exactly what we're proposing back and forth to each other, it would be very helpful. So, all right, appreciate you guys' time, appreciate the conversation, nice meeting you all.
Nice to meet you.
Good to See you again, thank you.
Grab a sandwich.
Guys, have a good day.
So I'm gonna see
Good
you
night.
Thursday, is that the deal? Is that the?
Oh, you guys have a long night, huh?
Thursdays.
You all have to stay?
None of us have to stay.
Oh, no.
I have to stay.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
GFEA is at 12.
So we got the budget presentation.
Yeah.
Brian, and then I do my.
Oh,
budget
Thursdays
thing
are long night.
for Brian and
Thursday.
so.
So I have the engineers at 8:30, I have the class at 10, and then I have GFE at 8.
What's yours have a week? Is it every other for you guys?
Thanks,
Or is it
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
John. Did you grab a sandwich?
Talk about that.
He did.
Grievance at all.
Okay, good.